Imagine pulling up to a small-town butcher shop in 1905 Louisiana. The air smells like hickory smoke and something faintly sweet you can't place. An old wagon sits out front. A quiet family unloads burlap sacks that leave white patches on the wooden porch. The butcher smiles, counts out cash, hangs a new sign. Fresh swamp game. Best we've ever had. By the end of the week, half the town has eaten it. By the end of the month, another family has vanished from the road, and nobody connects the two. Until the day 15 armed men kicked out a cabin door and discover the most organized cannibal family in American history. If you're eating right now, maybe pause, because what I'm about to tell you actually happened. And it went on for 4 straight years. Deep in the Louisiana bayou, where the maps just give up and turn to gray, the swamp becomes something else. Cypress knees like tombstones. Water the color of old coffee. Air so thick with mosquitoes you can hear it hum. On one of the only patches of dry ground for miles sat the Brousard claim. 200 acres of nothing and everything they needed. 14 people lived there in 1901. 14 mouths breathing the same wet air, sharing the same blood in ways no Bible ever meant. At the center of it all sat Madame Clemence Brousard, 75 years old, 4'11" in her boots, spines curved like a question mark. She still wore the black morning dress from 1868 when her husband drowned in the Red River. Never took it off. Never washed it either, some said. The fabric smelled like wood smoke and something coppery underneath. Her son Alst, 42, tall as a cypress, thin as a garfish. Moved like he was always listening for something behind him. Hands covered in white scars that never tanned. Voice like gravel events soaked in bourbon. Then there was Cordelia, 38, Alced's half-sister, Clemence's daughter by a cousin nobody talked about. Cordelia's eyes were the coldest thing in that swamp. When she looked at the children, they stopped moving. Just stopped. The rest of the clan filled out the same pattern. Cousins who were also uncles, nieces who were also sisters-in-law. 7 children under 16 who all shared the same flat cheekbones, the same pale hair that never quite looked clean. Outsiders who accidentally wandered close heard only silence. No laughter, no shouting, just the soft, constant sound of knives on wood. Winter 1901 to 1902 was the leanest in 50 years. Deer vanished, gators went deep. Even the catfish stopped biting. Clemence gathered the family one January night around the single oil lamp. She told them a story they'd all heard whispers of, but never the full truth. In 1847, her own grandfather had found a dead traveler half frozen on the trail. Instead of burying him, they'd eaten him. And the family had survived the winter. She closed the Bible she'd opened just for show and said 5 words that changed everything. Meat is meat. We're hungry. What nobody realized was that the best-tasting meat in town had just waved at them from the wagon. James Morrison, his wife Sarah, and their 3 children, ages 8, 6, and 3, left Shreveport headed for a sawmill job. They never arrived. 3 days later, lumberjacks found the wagon. Horses still hitched, pawing the ground like they'd seen the devil. Inside, blankets, tools, a child's rag doll with one button eye missing. No people. That same Thursday, Eulalie Brousard walked into town with 2 burlap sacks. She sold 40 pounds of pale, tender meat for twice the usual price. The butcher cooked a steak that night. His wife said it was the best thing she'd ever tasted. The butcher hung the new shipment in his window that Friday. By Monday, half the town had eaten it. 2 weeks later, the Thibodeau family. Same story. Then the Leblancs and the Fontenuts. Always whole families. Always travelers. Always within 5 miles of the Brousard land. And every Thursday, more meat showed up. Perfectly butchered. No bone fragments. No waste. The butcher started calling it his Thursday special. People lined up. Every time a family vanished. The Brousard chimneys smoked for exactly 3 days. Exactly 3. Father Gilbert Horton noticed things. 1902. The Brousard children stopped looking starved. 1903. Their clothes were patched with city fabric. 1904. He counted 14 shadows moving behind the cabins at night. And the smell. 3 days of silence after every disappearance. Then sweet thick smoke that drifted for miles. He wrote in his private journal, "Another family gone." 3 days later, the wind carried the smell of cooking fat. God forgive me, but I know what they're burning. 10 straight days of summer rain turned the swamp into soup. One trail became a river, and the river started giving things back. Father Horton dug with his bare hands, children's shoes still tied, a woman's Sunday dress torn to ribbons. A pocket watch stopped at 3:17, a tiny rag doll soaked brown, and teeth. Dozens of human teeth scattered like hailstones. They found children's shoes in the mud, still tied, still warm. Sheriff Augustus Landry gathered 15 men. They rode out at dawn. The first shed, a perfect butcher shop from hell, 6 tables dark with old blood, meat hooks swinging like wind chimes. One deputy lifted a cloth. The shape was too familiar. He vomited on his own boots. Second shed, rows of pale meat hanging like curtains. Some pieces still had tattoos. Third, the pits. 6 trenches filled with bones, tiny finger bones. Skulls with perfect saw lines. One deputy opened a smoker, and the face staring back still had eyes. They found Clemence in her rocking chair, knitting something red. Cordelia standing guard. 5 children sitting perfectly still, staring with flat black eyes. Landry asked where the others were. Clemence smiled and said, "Some family stays. Some family runs. The swamp decides." 7 Brousards had vanished into the reeds before sunrise. She talked for 3 days straight, not like a prisoner, like a proud businesswoman. Teenagers pretended to be lost orphans. Adults offered water, food, directions. One nod from Clemence. Hammers to the skull. Bodies wrapped, loaded, processed the same day. Children cleaned tables. Little Azeli, age 6. Sorted the tender from the tough, Clemence's notebooks. 42 entries. Entry number 29. Found a pregnant woman. Baby was bonus tender. Sold as milk-fed veal. Best Thursday yet. They labeled the barrels by age. The one marked tender was never empty. The 5 captured children never spoke in the orphanage. Refused vegetables. One boy was caught trying to bite another child's arm to taste. All 5 died before 20. 7 escaped into the swamp. In 1906, a trapper found a fresh camp. Human bones picked clean. A child's dress hanging from a tree like a flag. 7 family members escaped that day. Some say they never stopped hunting. They hanged Clemence and Cordelia on a cold December morning. Clemence's last words as the trapdoor dropped, "You'll all do the same." When the hunger comes, the property burned for 5 days. The fire fed on fat soaked into the soil. People say if you go there now, the ground still feels warm. And every Thursday, some swear they smell hickory smoke on the wind. So next time you on a back road and a quiet family offers you fresh wild game from a cooler, keep driving. Because some family recipes should stay buried. That's the story of the Brousard family. If these stories are your thing, subscribe and hit the bell. I've got worse ones waiting. See you in the next one.